It's Thursday morning, May 1st. We're getting ready to start our summer adventure. Here comes Winnie out of her shed. It's time to load up and hook up the car and we'll be on the road.
Beautiful day for a
All
drive.
hooked up, unloaded, ready to hit the road.
We made the first day's run. As you can see, blue skies, not a cloud in the sky. So we got here. It was a grueling 60-mile drive, and we got here in about an hour and 20 minutes. And those are some friends of ours from New Jersey, so we're gonna go over and play cards. So there's Ken and Rosie. You remember the camera. Now you got to move over, Ken, so I can show your car. There we go. It's a beautiful Friday morning, and we're down along the Homosassa River. And this is not very far from where Ken and Rosie live. And we have been here a couple of times before, but not during the nice weather like this. So of course we've got to come and have some lunch, and I think that our folks, I think I see Susan down there. There's everybody, the motley crew. North, traveling along the Gulf of Florida. So now we are at the northern part of where now the Gulf, or the Florida, turns west into the Panhandle. And so right now we're at the Ocklawakanee River State Park. We're just south of the city of Sopchoppy, and we're at the confluence of the Ocklawakanee River, the Sopchoppy River, and the Dead River. About noon, got up and didn't do anything, so we're just taking a quickie afternoon drive down this little scenic, looking for bears, but I don't think we're going to see a bear at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 12 o'clock. We're traveling on a very narrow stretch of land called Alligator Point, and water on both sides, and it sticks out into the Gulf. We're still out at that alligator area, not at that real narrow section, but we're right on the Gulf, and it's Bald Eagle State Park. So thought we would have our little picnic, cheese, crackers, and some apple. In the state park, I have a little swimming area here. Yesterday when we were here, there wasn't anybody swimming because the alligators were out. So you can swim and do a little fishing. Getting ready to try his luck.
Helping hand to this fisherman here. It's Tuesday morning, and we just left the campsite, should say mid-afternoon. We're going to be riding along the Gulf here for about 60 miles to our next destination, which is St. Joe's State Park. Beautiful day for a drive.
Nice day. Well, we made it to St. Joe Peninsula State Park. The 9-mile pristine pure white sand beach. We're directly on the Gulf. And we're camped back behind here. Actually, as I pan around, the water now is directly behind me, and there we are. A day trip to the city of Apalachicola, and it's just about lunchtime. So we did find a little nice place to eat here. Susan's gonna eat oysters. This is the oyster capital of Florida. We got some oysters and some shrimp and scallops. Susan has some just chicken.
Friday morning, we just left St. Joe. We are on our way to Defuniak Springs, riding along the coast the majority of the way. Hope to see some dolphin. Welcome to Alabama. It's Monday morning. We just left Florida, and we will drive through Alabama, through Mobile, and then on to Mississippi, and our stop will be Biloxi. Downtown Mobile, enter a tunnel through Alabama, and we're now in Mississippi, on our way to Biloxi, about 30 miles away.
On a Tuesday morning, we're in Biloxi, Mississippi. We're down sort of at the Gulf. This is all rebuilt stuff. Sort of rebuilt. They're still building a few things. But there's a boat down here that we're going to hop on and go shrimping. They're going to teach us how they do shrimping on this little boat. Susan has boarded our shrimping excursion boat. Now our shrimp boat is just taken off, and
I want to welcome y'all aboard. I'll give y'all a little
looking back at the couple of casinos. The man is going to demonstrate how to use the net. The net basically is a long cylindrical net tied off at one end. The open end, which he's coming to now, he has a couple of bobbers that keep the top of that toward the surface floating. And now he is going to lower two separator spreader plates so that you can see them separate. They are attached to the open end of the net and keep it open from side to side. The bobbers up at the top keep it open near the top. All the shrimp and other goodies flow in. Now he is picking up the net, first returning the spreaders. Now he's pulling in the net. And this time now everything has been pushed to the bottom of the net, so he now unleashes the bottom end and dumps out our catch. And we do have a few small shrimp. Again, this is not shrimping season.
We're driving through Waveland where Katrina hit in 2005, and you can see there's still lots of construction and road work, and still a mess.
Houses here at one time.
At one time, Jim said there was nothing but houses here, and now there's nothing. In the middle of the road here, there's still a lot of road construction. Not much on this side of the road. That's where all the homes were washed away. Some are rebuilding, but not too many. A lot of property for sale. Wednesday morning, or close to noon, and we're going back down to the casinos to see about seeing a show at the Beau Rivage called Why. It's a Cirque du Soleil performance with Russian and Chinese performers. In front of us here is the Beau Rivage.
Well, we're in the hotel lobby of the Beau Rivage. This is, I'm sure, the most elegant of all the casinos here in Biloxi and this Gulf Coast. Part of MGM, apparently. We're at a place called McGee's Landing in someplace in Louisiana, in Henderson, Louisiana. We're going to go on a swamp boat tour. We got our pilot and our co-pilot there under I-10. This bridge is 18.2 miles long. Took 6 years to build. That's pretty good for making 18 miles. Water, he says, is about 15 foot above normal. So everything is pretty much, the feet of the trees are all underwater. The gator. I don't know if you can see in here, but the weeds are moving and there's a gator coming towards us.
You're right.
Where am I by it? So this must be Cindy. So I'd guess this is probably 4 or 5 feet.
You're right.
Well, we are at the home of Tabasco. Here's the Tabasco factory. So we're gonna go. And there are labels, and there's a counter. I'll just see if I can go over here. So far today they have bottled 354,160 bottles. The sons of William McElhenney, I believe his name was Kent, started this preserve for white snowy egrets. Apparently they were very much endangered, and now, as you can see, there, I don't know, a lot of them.
Driving through Jungle Garden on Avery Island.
Well, I think I found an aggliter.
More, they're coming right to shore.
I think we found a couple turtles.
Turtle soup for dinner. Wednesday morning, we got an early start. We're on our way to New Orleans. We're now on the causeway, which crosses Lake Pontchartrain. And this bridge is the longest, or the world's longest bridge of 24 miles. And yesterday we were on the second longest bridge, which was 18.2 miles. Where we are, you cannot see any land in any direction.
The French Quarter. After our trip of looking at Katrina stuff, we're coming for lunch, and we've had lunch here before at, I don't know the name of this place, but they have excellent sandwiches, as you'll see here. And I have the typical muffaletta. Got ham and salami and cheese and something else. So we're down on the French Quarter here. A few of the sort of famous balconies. While in Naches, I'm going to take a tour of the city of Naches.
The only one like this is completely surrounded by columns. There are 26 columns that surround the home. Popular spot for weddings. That's what they're getting ready to do. They're having a wedding at 6 this evening. Hopefully it doesn't rain on them. But it's also that brick courtyard with down. It's really quite a pretty place. In fact, they run their hands at it. They did. But the best one to pull that off is the Burn over here on the left. This was finished in 1834. It's quite a drop-off. It's a great view, but if you don't like heights or sleepwalk.
Naches Courthouse, or it is the Naches Courthouse. And here's a big old oak tree, and the branch that we're looking at was the hanging tree used to hang all the convicted murderers up until about Thursday. No, up until the early 1900s, and then apparently they built this building across the street and moved the hangings inside. Oldest saloon in Mississippi. So we're gonna go in this saloon with the bikers and have a drink. This local place, supposedly the oldest saloon in Mississippi. Right across the street is the river at the Melrose plantation, mansion, I guess, maybe plantation. Around the front. We are standing in the back veranda of a house overlooking the two slaves' quarters. So there's some more slave quarters. These slave quarters are for the grounds people. The other are for the house staff. The Frogmore Plantation and Cotton Gin, and taking a tour of this old plantation, which is still actively growing cotton and ginning cotton in the area. Mid-1800s, this is where the slaves and field workers would live. And one of those was the overseer's house. I think it might be that. Buildings were dedicated for different uses. That was the laundry. I think those were living quarters there. And here are side-by-side living quarters with a fireplace between. 5 people lived on each side. One of those cabins. Whitewash walls to keep bugs out. In the early 1900s, they changed to tin roofs. Prior to that, they used wood and cotton. Season time, they just planted, but here is a cotton bush. It's been defoliated, or leaves have been taken off, but you can see the cotton pops out of the cotton bowl, and they pick that cotton from there, holding the cotton from one of those bowls, or cotton balls now. Each of those has about 28 seeds, and those seeds had to be removed, and it would take about 10 hours to remove the seeds from 1 pound of cotton. So what Susan holds in her hand is 10 hours of work. I get the date, but Eli Whitney developed and invented and developed the cotton engine, later shortened to cotton gin, and its sole function was to mechanically remove those 28 seeds from the cotton fluff gin. And there are some wheels, or like saw blades, that grab the cotton and force it between the narrow tines. The seeds won't fit, so the seeds stay on one side and fall into one side of this, and the cotton is pulled through and collected and wiped off and collected on the opposite side, free of at least the majority of those seeds. Cotton is then weighed on a scale like this and sent out to a warehouse and off to a cotton manufacturer. So one bale is about 400 to 500 pounds.
We're getting ready to enter the Naches Trace Parkway. The Naches Parkway is a federal highway, so from Naches, Mississippi to Nashville, Tennessee, it's 445 miles, and it's only 50 miles per hour and no commercial traffic. Looks like we're the only ones on the road so far. Should be a pleasant drive. Very beautiful. Everything is nice and green and lush.
Gulf Military Park, and this was a Civil War stronghold on the Mississippi River just south of Vicksburg. Mississippi River just past those trees in the distance. The Confederate Army was able to hold off the Union gunboats coming up the river, and thus they could not, the Union Army could not make it into Vicksburg via this route. Now in the town of Gulf, whatever this was, Gulfport, There's a little grist mill, there's a church, and a house that sort of made up a good part of the town. Very pretty setting for a church here in the, you know, woods. This is very pretty. Built in 1850. This is St. Joseph's Catholic Church. Catholic Church. All the windows are stained blue. So it gives it an eerie feeling. The second oldest Presbyterian church in the Old Southwest. And this is in Fort Gibson. And this is a Presbyterian church. The thing that makes this church a little different than any other is that the very tippy top of the steeple is a big golden hand pointing the way to heaven. Windsor Ruins. And this was a big mansion at one time, owned by a cotton planter who built it in 1861. It was then destroyed by fire, made it through the Civil War, but fire got it in 1890. These columns are immense. I mean, they're very tall. And you can see Susan, how small she is compared to these columns.
We're back on the trace. There's a reservoir on the side of us here. A river running along the Naches trace.
He also said
They say it runs for about 8 miles.
Wednesday morning, June 4th maybe. June 3rd, Susan said. And we're in Corinth at the Civil War, I don't know, Civil War Interpretive Center. So there was a lot of battles here for the Civil War. This is in Corinth, Mississippi. So we're still in Mississippi for another couple days, and then we'll go through Alabama and into Tennessee. At the very beginning of the war, because it was a crossroads for the railroad. If you could control the railroad, you could control the supplies going in and out. So the Confederates held this for a long time. It was eventually overtaken by the Union forces, who could then head south into Vicksburg. We're now at the historic crossroads of the railroads here. You can see the two railroads. Corinth had lunch at Martha's Menu. A couple of things are a little different. They have fried bologna sandwiches and pig brains and eggs. Real pig brains. Drugstore, the oldest continuously operating drugstore in the state of Mississippi. Drugstore. This opened in 1862. And it's still basically the same it is today. Susan's sitting at the counter there. And we're gonna have a slug burger. That's what they're known for. No hamburger in it. It's pork and soy and spices. Made from, again, pork and soy flour and spices. And back in the early days, it cost a nickel, or a slug, as it was called back then. We're at the Tennessee Tom Bigby Water Dam. We are actually camped down, someplace down there, right along there someplace. Right along the old campground. And this is our site here, right on the water. Picnic table and some pole with some hooks on the top. I don't know if that's to hang clothes or what, but we got a grill, and just behind the grill is a little table that sits up high to put your food and things on. Just like time for a little bit of a fire, and our fire tender.
morning, and once again we're back on the trace. We're on the Alabama portion of it. We'll be on this for a while, and then we'll be in Tennessee. A little more hillier on this part of the trace. Still just as beautiful. Entering Tennessee on the Traceway.
Well, we're at the Gaylord Opryland Hotel and Convention Center. It's Friday about 6 o'clock. Looks like a nice restaurant there that we might try out. This restaurant is actually a buffet. So we have a table right at the river's edge here. Oh, here comes Susan. She found something. And just as she's coming to sit down, there's a little boat here. Maybe we'll throw a couple crackers at it.
The little boat.
We're in the atrium. The check-in desks are behind me. They have this waterfall. There's a restaurant. I think there's a sushi bar over there.
What I did was
Just on the north end of the trace now, so we've basically completed driving the entire trace. Nashville is just to the left a few miles, and we'll be heading east toward Knoxville. Monday afternoon, we decided to take in a dinner theater. So we just got out, and it was really an excellent performance, and it was an excellent meal, and it was just excellent all the way. This is the dinner theater playhouse. Everybody was seated in like a big square with the stage in the middle.
June 9th. This is our couple more miles, and we'll be off the Naches Trace Parkway, heading east to Crossville, Tennessee, then to the Blue Ridge Park.
Falls Creek State Park. Falls Creek, Tennessee. And isn't this an idyllic spot to do a little swimming? Suspended cable bridge. And you jump from the bridge. Again, this is really terrific setting. In the state park, and this is Cane Creek Falls. Smaller falls. There's actually a larger fall someplace, but it's just pretty nice down in here. Now Susan's gonna cross this bridge. Another one of these suspension bridges. Looks like a lot of fun too. Now here is the main falls, 256 feet to the bottom. Cumberland State Park in Crossville, that's the restaurant there. We're gonna go have dinner there. It's our second time. This is really a very nice state park also. We were at that Falls Creek State Park, which was super. This is very picturesque as well. A few geese swimming by.
Good morning. We just left Crossville, Tennessee. Drive about 160 miles to the Tennessee-North Carolina border. And then another 20 miles to Waynesville, North Carolina, where we'll spend the weekend. 1,200 feet. We need to go to about 3,000 before we get to the camp. North Carolina. Moving around the mountains, and Now we get to go through a tunnel. On the other side.
Seems to miss a train ride, so today's Saturday up in the Smoky Mountains. Train is off.
Travel along.
So we're just now leaving the station.
Passengers holding Crown or Club Car tickets, enter those cars. If you do not have a Crown or Club Car ticket, please do not enter those cars. There's absolutely no alcoholic beverage.
Well, we're coming to some lake, and we're coming. There's a trestle bridge that we're on now. This was featured in a movie with Sandra Bullock and Ben Affleck. I think we just watched the rafters coming down the river. Here comes our engine. We're turning around and going back. We're going with the river now. Cherokee Indian Reservation, and tonight we're going to an outdoor performance of Onto These Hills. We're center section there, someplace row I, and that is the stage.
It's Father's Day. We're driving around the Smokies. We're on our way to Chimney Rock. That's where we're going, up to the top of that mountain.
Driving through the mountains, we've made it almost. Where we need to go now is right up there where the flag is. I believe there are people standing out on that rock. Getting closer. I'll just sort of go down this way. Go down this way. We're standing up here. So we did get to the top.
This formation sticking off the mountain. Devil's Head.
Here's the top of the rock. We're looking down at Lake Lure, and that's going to be our next point of visit and take a boat ride. So we're at Lake Lure. Gonna hop on this little pontoon boat here and take a ride. And we can see Chimney Rock there in the top right of the frame, sort of in the front right side. Cove is where Dirty Dancing is going. We're in the middle of a tower. But it's still pretty lake. There's the storm.
June 17th, we just left Waynesville, North Carolina, just outside of Asheville. And we're on our way to Lenore, North Carolina. Driving along, enjoying the mountain views.
So we're going to head up to Blowing Rock in North Carolina at Blowing Rock. So we're up on the Blue Ridge Parkway. Blowing Rock is right there, and it's in Ripley's Believe It or Not, because it is the one location where it snows upward. Closer view of those rocks where the wind comes blowing up from down below. It is actually quite windy if you stand out there. See down below at a place called Grandfather Mountain. Highest point is
highest point in the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Oh, it's the highest point in Blue Ridge Mountains.
1.5-mile drive up to this Grandfather Mountain. So we should be there shortly. Sure is pretty.
I hope this wind isn't too noisy, but we're gonna go over that suspension bridge to the top there, and that's at about 5,600 feet or so, and we can look down there. Very windy up here.
Just left Grandfather Mountain and have to make it down. It's very steep. Steep with switchbacks.
Watch when we make this turn here.
Whoa! Meow. Jeez. It's like going in a circle. This is the Forrest Gump curve.
These mountains, we didn't come and find ourselves a bear. There's an eagle sitting up in a tree.
We're on the Blue Ridge Parkway.
See this bridge that we're on just sticks
Whoa,
out.
we're on a bridge that just sticks out over these mountains.
And we're going to go see a production of Horn in the West about Daniel Boone and the early settlers. Yeah, it's set in sort of the hills here is the stage. Well, we're at the Penguin Drive-In. One day, this was back at home a few months ago, we saw diners, drive-ins, and dives, and this place has the best fried pickles. And Susan loves fried pickles. The front door, certainly not a very impressive place. I mean, it's just a little dinky diner, but there's a ton of people waiting to get in here. Made it inside. Just a little dive.
Good morning, and we've made it to the Blue Ridge Parkway. We'll be on this for about 60 miles before we cross into Virginia from North Carolina. And that'll be our stop tonight in Fancy Gap, Virginia. 3,000 elevation, and this is a federal highway, no commercial traffic. The speed limit is only 45, so that makes it for a nice drive. Road to our south.
We're up at 3,600 feet now. Nice view looking down. We're on the Blue Ridge Parkway and we made it into Virginia. And we're now stopping at the Maubrey Mill. Here is the mill now in person rather than just a video of a picture. So it is, the wheel is turning. We're doing some high-tech woodworking here. Making a spindle. And the grist mill from the front side. I'm not sure front side, back side, but the water wheel's on the opposite side. Very nice day. was built, I think I said, in 1910. And it was operated until 1930. Mount Airy, North Carolina. The home of Andy Griffith is the name I'm looking for. So he born and grew up here at least part of his life. Now here's one of the old squad cars from Mayberry. Now this is Mount Airy, and no part of the show was ever filmed here, but a lot of the places are named after Mount Airy because Andy Griffith owned better than 50% of the production, so he was able to call the shots on what was named what. So like Floyd's Barber Shop down the street was Floyd's Barber Shop, Snappy's was Snappy's, Mount Pilot, and so forth. Airy or Mayberry police cars giving a personalized tour. Now in front of the playhouse are bronze statues of Andy and Opie getting ready to go fishing. Floyd's Barber Shop, still a barber shop. Wally service station. This is where Gomer used to work.
Station now. And here's an old tow truck. And Goober says hi. Fancy Gap. We're back on the Parkway.
Now we're in Virginia at Monticello, which is the home of Thomas Jefferson. And we're on a little bit of a tour to see where they grew the fruits and vegetables and where the slave cabins were. Did a tour of Monticello. Allow pictures to be taken on the inside.
Monticello Cemetery. And this is where Thomas Jefferson is buried. He died on July 4th, 1826.
Market. On this farm where a Civil War battle in 1864 was fought, where the cadets, who were like 15 through 18 years old, were brought up to help the Confederates fight the Union forces here, and they actually pushed the Union forces back northward. Here's a cannon going off during the battle. The front of the Bouchon farm house, and the battle was fought right in their backyard, basically. Inside the Bouchon farm. And this was a room that they converted into a hospital for the wounded Confederate soldiers and the VMI cadets. Look eastward. Interstate 81 is going right through the front of their property, and there are the Blue Ridge Mountains. We're camped somewhere on the top of those mountains, but about 20 miles south of here. Well, it's about 5 o'clock late Saturday afternoon. We're on the Skyline Drive. So we're up in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Up in those mountains where the farm was across from the interstate. So we're about 20 miles east of that interstate. We're about 3,000 feet at the Natural Bridge Hotel. And looks like they have a pretty nice Sunday brunch. I think all we do is eat.
More fried chicken.
That looks like a pretty nice place. So we just had lunch here at the hotel that way, and go to the Natural Bridge, which is, I say, we got to walk 2.5 miles. So here we are at the famous Natural Bridge. This and a number of other acres of land was purchased by Thomas Jefferson in 1857 for $2.40. Thomas Jefferson bought this and the surrounding land. He hired George Washington to come in and survey and map the area. Washington was a surveyor. And so George Washington carved his initials in the rock. So Route 11 is at the top. And we got here by driving on Route 11. Not sure we went over that portion. If not, we will on the way out. Alongside the creek, just up from the natural bridge, is a archaeological reconstruction of an old Indian village about 300 years ago. So here they did some tanning of various kinds of hides. We're here making dinner.
It's Monday morning, hopefully our last day of driving in the mountains. We're on our way to take Winnie in to get her brakes.
We're in Charlottesville. We actually drove into town this morning and dropped off our motorhome to have our ABS brakes checked. And they were nice enough to bring us into the Charlottesville downtown mall so we could walk around and have lunch. And then they'll pick us up. Like most downtowns, was beginning to suffer with lack of, you know, attendance, so they took and closed off the street, planted some trees, and they now have a really beautiful downtown mall that apparently is quite vibrant.
And we're driving through downtown Petersburg, Virginia. Not much happening.
It's part of where the Battle of Petersburg took place. And the city of Petersburg is south of Richmond, which was the capital of the Confederacy, and it was very well guarded and protected. So General Grant decided he would cut their flow of resources by capturing Petersburg and preventing their resupply of the city of Richmond. Another of the 55 fortifications surrounding Petersburg. Now what we did learn was that the Union forces attacked, and in 2 hours they were able to capture quite a number of these fortifications, but they made a big blunder. They decided not to follow the Confederates back toward the city of Petersburg and sort of ended the battle. Had they have gone forward and actually captured everyone, they would have captured Petersburg, which would have been the supply line to Richmond. Richmond therefore would have no supplies. In the Monday morning, and we're off to see some more Civil War stuff. So we're at the confluence of the James and Appomattox rivers, and I'm standing on a point called City Point, and this is where General Grant set up his headquarters. This was a farmhouse owned by the Epps that got taken over, but Grant then stayed in a little log house over here throughout the rest of the war, so he did all of his planning and everything. During this period, they had built a railroad, they had built wharfs, and this was the busiest port in the world. Behind me was a 10,000 bed hospital. There was a bakery that made 10 or 100,000 loaves of bread every day. All of that would supply the troops just south of here who were laying siege to Petersburg. To continue on and capture Petersburg when we were at those earthworks and batteries as a first line of defense, they didn't do that. The Army was able to regroup and reinforce. Took another 292 days to capture Petersburg. And as everyone suspected, once they did that, the supply lines to Richmond were cut, and Richmond fell, and essentially the war was over. And the General Grant stayed in for about a year and directed the Union forces, all of the Union forces, to the culmination of the war.
Thursday morning, and we just left Virginia and back into North Carolina.
11th, I believe, of July. And we're in a small town of Bayview. And we're just taking a little ride today. It's been raining in the morning. And I don't know if we can see the shore across there, but we're waiting here for a free ferry that'll take us across. It's about a 30-minute crossing to Aurora, across the Pamlico Sound or the Pamlico River. I'm not sure which. Well, I think the ferry cometh. Yeah, there she be.
Time to board the ferry.
Holds like 36 cars.
Yeah, it holds 36 cars. 30-minute crossing. Front of the line. Jim remembers to stop or we're going in the drink.
Susan's getting comfy for the ride here. Got everybody on with room to spare in the center lane, and we are off. It didn't take them long to get moving, and we're moving already at a pretty good clip. Yeah, pet squirrel over here. We're coming in for landing. So this is our landing point, but certainly not much around here we thought maybe we'd stop and have a drink and an hors d'oeuvre or something, but I don't think we're going to do it right here.
We just entered South Carolina on our way to Myrtle Beach. We left this morning from Chowinty, North Carolina, and been driving on 17 South for about 14
Today, about noonish, we are at the Oceanic restaurant with actually Christine's good friend Cal and her husband, and we're at Wilmington, North Carolina. What a nice day. Cal and Susan and her husband Mark is sitting at the table there. So tell me, this isn't a good place to have a lunch. We are now at this train museum, and Mark there, he is the director of the museum. And here is one of the old Baldwin steam engines. We're still down at the marina, and this is Ernie's boat. So we're gonna go out for a nice little ride.
Yes, we're sprawled across that whole hillside.
Busy day on Sunday up in Wilmington. We're now taking a day off, and just within walking distance of where we're staying is a shopping and eating area called Barefoot something or other. So we're just walking around right now looking for, obviously, a place to eat. That's all we seem to do. That's kind of a neat area. I'm gonna try and do a little bull riding here. He didn't last too long the first time. See what he can do here. He didn't do too good there either. So I guess this would be similar in concept to downtown Disney. They have some rides, but a lot of specialty shops and gobs of restaurants. This is actually a huge place.
This and 4 other great films playing at the IMAX 3D Theater, Parkway at the beach. Call 843-448-IMAX or visit IMAX3DMyrtleBeach.com for showtime.
Back at Broadway on the beach, and while there were not too many people here around midday, it's now 10 o'clock, and there are thousands and thousands of people. Stores are open till 11, and it just so happens every Monday they have fireworks.
Wednesday morning, and we're left Myrtle Beach, and we're just outside of Charleston, going across this pretty big bridge here.
Thursday morning. We're now on Hilton Head Island. We just got onto the island. It's actually raining out there, but we're sort of undercover, and of course I'm gonna have to eat again.
Actually,
Hilton Head Island.
overpopulating this island,
Taking a
which is not going to happen.
trolley tour, and Susan and I are the only two.
Updated and added to every year since 1957 when he opened it. But he actually has a square green.
We're at Harbor Town on Hilton Head Island. Some smaller boats. I think I see our boat coming up here. See it? Oh, there it is. Oh, there's the Hilton Head Lighthouse. Nice little place to have a little lunch, cocktail, and hors d'oeuvres.
Saturday morning, and we just left the southeast corner of South Carolina, not far from Hilton Head, driving straight south on I-95 through Georgia to exit 7, where we'll stop for the day. Sunday morning, July 20th, we just entered back into Florida. In about 192 miles, we'll be pulling up to our front door. Hallelujah. It's a great trip. And Ernie. And now we're ready to put her undercover for a while. Undercover where it's nice and cool. Get out of this hot blue skies.
Welcome home. It's good to be back. Be ready to go in a couple